Welcome back to Are You a Fan, where we explore individual characters from your favorite sci-fi, action, and fantasy genres. A big thank you to Moonbound Productions for supporting today's episode. If you would like to express your support, please like and share the show. Here's your hosts, Dick Rail and Joker.
I got a question for you, Joker, and the audience. If our world was about to implode and completely be destroyed, and you could pick any fantasy world to be put into, what would you pick?
Personally, I would go to Star Wars. I feel like that was a question for me. You should have already known.
I kind of have a feeling, but let's see what some of the fans would choose. I actually don't know.
I can see you in the Marvel.
Yeah, Marvel. I think it would depend on whether I got powers or not.
Okay. I can still see you going to Marvel.
True.
As the nerd you are over DC.
True.
Which
Marvel.
is ironic since we're talking about a DC character today.
We were talking about Static today, who had a show called Static Shock, which made it very confusing to do any of the research on this character, because apparently they were very adamant about the name change. So the character was created by Milestone Comics founders Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cohen, and Michael Davis, and also Derek T. Dingle. Okay, Static first appearance was made in Static #1, June 1993, in the modern age of comic books, written by McDuffie, Robert L. Washington III, and illustrated by John Paul Leon. Now, interesting thing about this Milestone Comics, I found, is it was actually a completely separate comic book entity that was... It's kind of like, how Disney still, like, Fox exists, but Disney still owns them. That was Milestone Comics. Milestone Comics was its own thing, but DC Comics owned them.
Well, they published for them.
Published for them.
I don't think they actually owned them, but they did the publishing for them.
Okay, that makes sense. I just thought this is like, what, our second or third one that came from technically a different comic book company?
Yeah, about half of them, I think, in the end, end up actually that way anyways.
True.
But yeah, the characters we've done, it's at least the second for sure that I know of.
Yeah, because we had the question, now Static.
So after the closing of Milestone Comics, Static was incorporated into the main DC universe through some very interesting storyline that we kind of get into later.
Character drew much inspiration, was in fact designed to represent the modern era Spider-Man archetype. Actually, I think I did write it down in here, he was originally supposed to be a Marvel character.
Yeah, you have a little bit further down that he was originally developed for Marvel.
Yep, it was originally developed for Marvel, which is also kind of why, he is heavily influenced by Spider-Man as far as his personality type.
I was saying, but the thing is, whenever they do the teenage hero, they all fall under the Spider-Man archetype.
Very true.
Whereas they're still trying to be in school and getting overwhelmed. Because Batman Beyond was very similar.
Batman Beyond, true in that. But this one, I feel as though Static, even with some of the subject material that they cover, I felt as though they definitely heavily influenced by Spider-Man with the way he uses his quips. Also, total nerd. Straight up making Lord of the Rings references while fighting Justice League. Which I appreciate as a nerd.
Definitely.
Character was also meant to be a role model for black teenagers and tends to not shy away from tough topics, as we were discussing. They've, as far as, which I think is a good thing, because most comics don't really shy away from taboo topics or issues and stuff, and that the show actually did a good representation, I feel, of the comic by covering gun violence, covering the gang violence, and also even covering racial injustice throughout the comic's run.
Which is nice with comics because they have the ability to do that, and there's a lot less censorship in comics for that kind of stuff than there's in TV.
And it's also a good way to, say you are a kid growing up in a rough part of town, and that just to pick up a comic and see oh, he's this hero of mine, he's making it. He shows me that there's a better way out there.
Which is always great. And it's good to have those.
Representation is quite important. It doesn't always have to do with race. It just could be somebody in a shit situation that you're in and show them, making it out. Just give you hope. It's got really somber all of a sudden in this episode. Went from a prankster god to, hey, inner city crime's a thing, people.
Yeah, that's what happens when we go from, one character to the next.
Very
they change
true.
Very dramatically.
They kind of do. I don't think we've had a nice progressive change yet. Okay. Originally developed... Oh, yeah, there it is. Originally developed by Marvel Comics. It's like, I swore I put it in here somewhere.
You just tried to jump ahead. You do that.
I do that a lot, and it has gotten me in some trouble in life. Sir, why is your car upside down? Well, you see, there was the exit up there, but I saw this ramp, and the fucking IHOP is right there, sir. And you thought you could make it? As far as I can tell, I did make it. Landing was a little iffy, though. Okay, Static's civilian identity. Virgil Hawkins was named after Virgil D. Hawkins, a black man who was denied entrance to the University of Florida Law School due to his race in 1949. And if I'm not mistaken, that guy actually did go on to, I think, work for NASA, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't do much research into the gentleman they based him on, but the little bit that I did, I believe that was the case. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Very.
Also, I feel like a big middle finger to the establishment.
Oh, and that's exactly why they did it. We all know it. That's all it was.
As somebody who likes to give the middle finger to the establishment, props, man.
Oh, yeah, I completely support that decision.
Same. I'm going to toss the baton over to Joker here to take over some of the in-world stuff, and let's discuss that.
So, at the age of 15, he is a resident of the city of Dakota. Obviously named Virgil Hawkins. Unlike most characters in any comics, he actually has a surviving family. Which is his dad, Robert Hawkins, mother Jean Hawkins, and his sister Sharon Hawkins. And it's really sad that that's a rarity.
It's really fucking sad that that's a rarity. I even kept going. Like, I didn't even put them in there, but he's got, like, uncles and grandparents.
Right, he has, like, unlike pretty much any hero, he's got a full-on family.
Yeah. I think the only thing is, at some point, his mother does die because of gang violence, because I believe she is a EMT. And
I don't remember that much. I didn't see anything on that.
I believe she was an EMT, and she was working like a riot going on, and that's where it happened. But the fact that he has a fairly intact family, what does that say about us as a society or comic book people?
Well, it just shows what is the common trope to push someone to be a hero.
True.
Because for the most part, most people to be a hero, you have to have some kind of traumatic experience that wants them to do better for everybody else. Because unfortunately, as a human, most people are concerned with just doing better for themselves.
True. God damn it, Dad. Why am I not in a bat suit right now? I've lost 2 fathers. That meets the requirement, right? 2 parents. Does it have to be gender bias?
Well, some of them, as you see with this guy, is only 1 parent.
Yeah. What the shit? He's actually got... That did surprise me, though. An actual, like... And from what I remember in reading some of the comics and stuff and the way they portrayed it in the show, it's a loving family, too.
Oh, yeah. It's a very normal and kind of that white pickety fence styled family.
Yeah, which...
That gave a crap about a kid. I mean, except for the sister, but that's sibling.
That's sibling stuff. She fucking puts him through the ringer a lot, but that's just sibling. She's honestly nicer than my brother, so that's she gets an A+ in my book. Okay, now let's go into how he gained his powers. Gained his powers during a gang fight from an experimental gas that was used by police to stop the gang fight. The police thought this tear gas had a harmless radioactive marker, but were unaware it was spiked with an experimental mutagen called quantum juice or Q juice. I'm just, damn, talk about a faux pas.
Well, you know, that's what happens when people mess with your stuff.
Oh, shit. Like, now I know, how do I word this so I don't offend anybody that can pull me over? If you're a good cop and you're not looking to just murder, and you throw this gas out there to disperse a crowd, how mentally would that blow your mind to just see people start mutating, or in some cases, from what I was reading, literally melting into the bricks around them?
From what I remember of the cartoon during this scenarios, most of it didn't happen instantly.
True.
A lot of it happened later on.
In the comics, some of it does happen instantly. Specifically, the people who it doesn't exactly quite mix well with their DNA.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So you don't see people mutating their powers, but imagine just like watching random people that you just gassed melt down into nothing.
Yeah, I'm sure those cops probably had some massive PTSD later on.
I'm just saying, like, at that point, I'd be like,
especially when they thought it was just harmless tear gas.
Right? Okay, mind if I go into a little bit more detail on how he even ended up there that I just wasn't willing to write because it seemed like a lot to write down?
Oh, it was.
And that, so Virgil, you know, he's a nerdy kid. He's totally one of us, except way smaller. And that's a, you know, definite target for bullies. Anyway, he was being bullied at the school by, you know, your resident gangbanging bully. And that,
By Francis Stone.
What?
By Francis Stone.
By Francis Stone. There we go. And after, you know, dealing with all that shit, he gets home and his mom's telling him, like, you gotta stand up for yourself. Don't be like your dad and, you know, just taking whatever the man gives you. Which, damn, some harsh words, but ones to live by. He would eventually bump into another gang leader who would give him a gun and tell him, hey, you want to get back at that Francis Stone guy? Come to this Big Bang meet, and that you'll get back at him. He ends up going, but he ends up throwing the gun in the river, actually, because honestly, he's a good kid. Like, you know, he doesn't want to kill anybody, and he just doesn't want to be bullied anymore. So he throws the gun in, and that's, lo and behold, when the gas starts.
Which also is slightly different from what happened in the cartoon. Because I actually attempted to rewatch it, and then the internet went out at work.
Oh!
But also, that cartoon is so cartoony, even for its time.
Really?
It's hard to watch. Compared to going back to any of the other superhero cartoons of that time, this one was kind of hard to watch. I mean, it's not great.
I'll have to check it out myself, because I remember loving it.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to say it wasn't good. It's just going back as an adult and having experience watching other stuff that has been made since.
Well, it's kind of like rewatching Digimon.
Pretty much. Honestly, I'd still rather rewatch Digimon.
I don't know about that. I rewatched that recently. I'm just like, oh. I'm curious about your assessment and how.
I mean, I'm also going off only the first episode and a half.
Oh, okay.
Because that's all I could get to.
Before the fucking internet just shut.
To be honest, I think it was HBO that had a shit.
Okay. Anyway. So, yeah, it differs a bit from the show, but that's...
In the show, his mom wasn't around anymore at the time.
Yep.
He was being bullied at school, so that's still the same. But it was the gang member who helped kind of protect him during school time, too. To where he eventually just had him meet him somewhere under a bridge, told him it's getting too much time in his way. He was giving up too much of his own time protecting Virgil. Where he's like, you know, here, we're going to meet at this place, or meet us here. He didn't tell him anything else, just that we're going to deal with your bully problem tonight. Then when he goes to meet him, that's when he receives the gun. And then he tosses it almost immediately. Because, you know, that's how his mother died.
Yeah.
So he wants nothing to do with it.
Which I remember, even in the comics at some point, he does gain an aversion to guns because of that, the mother thing. And the show did a really good job of showing how that affected him and his major, guns. Which, you know, it may be a trope, but it's an accurate one. Because even Batman has that issue with guns. Or at least he did when we got past the Golden Age. So, honestly, as far as the show from the comic, though, and that fairly accurate maintaining of the storyline. But yeah, after he got gassed and a bunch of people melted and some people ran away, a bunch of mech suits showed up to arrest Virgil.
Amongst others.
And that's when Virgil became the notorious Static. And yeah, he fried those suits. Total accident, like not in control of his powers at all at this point. Fried the suits and then grabbed a trash can lid and flew on off.
Yeah, learning of those new abilities through that, he would give himself the moniker Static and choose to become a hero to help his community.
Which, I guess there was a nod to the Justice Friends character in the Static Shock show, when at one point he wears, like, the blue and yellow, like, even having the cowl on with lightning ears.
I can see it, yeah.
There's a character from the Justice Friends era that looks exactly like that. So yeah, in the TV show they gave it kind of a joking nod when he puts it on. His friend's like, no, dude.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right? Nice. I love those little tiny nods. Unfortunately, he wasn't the only one affected by this gas. And his high school bully, Francis Stone, a.k.a. Hot Streak, among others, would gain powers. The explosion from the gang fight would become known as the Big Bang. And everyone who gained powers through this would be called Bang Babies.
Yeah, they chose poor phrasing on that. Where it makes sense why they called them this, because it was their birth as a superhuman.
No, I totally get it, but it does sound like something that a bunch of inner city kids would come up with for a name.
That's exactly what it sounds
almost
like.
what makes it perfect, too.
Well, it would if it was the kids in the universe that made it that name. But it was the government in the universe. He was like, oh, no, we're going to call them Bang Babies.
At the same time, though, as much as we can make fun of that name, I do kind of love that name.
Oh, it's definitely good. It's just, I feel the audience reading it, not necessarily the best.
True, it does sound like at some point they're going to start protesting D&D and TV shows. Because it sounds like boomers to me. Okay, let's move. Or let's talk. I don't know, Francis Stone, the asshole that character is.
I mean, from what he shows up at least at the beginning of the cartoon, like he's just your stereotypical bully.
Yeah,
like he's a jock.
Yeah, and even in the comics at one point, him and Virgil, I think he's one of Virgil's first like run-ins as far as like a villain.
Oh, he definitely was.
And it totally fucks with Virgil. And that he actually, drops the ball majorly when taking him on the first time. Mostly because, I mean, I can't get that. Like, you're fighting crime, you're being a badass, and then your childhood nightmare comes at you. And you're like, here's my lunch money.
Well, but it's not even just that. He's also got a more personal want, so he's not going to think about how to do things correctly.
True.
He's going to screw up because he's so busy thinking of, I want to beat this guy. I'm not going to think of how I'm going to do it.
True. Can't say that any of us, if we fought our childhood bully, that we'd exactly handle it with the utmost of...
Oh, I know none of us would.
Yeah, no. We've discussed that before. Stag would have his secret discovered, however, by his friend Frida Gorin?
Gorin? I have no idea.
Gorin? We're going with Gorin. It sounds like a decent last name. Who would later also become a love interest. Ooh.
From what I remember reading, between her and Static, they went back and forth between being a couple, not being a couple. At one point, Static was trying to date another girl who, because of his hero duties, that did not end well, and I guess Frida and her fought over Virgil. It was a lot of, your typical high school drama.
Damn. I mean, you kind of expect that, though, going into a comic book based in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And there's got to be some love drama, love interest. As far as, like, dating, though, I feel like if you're a superhero, It is just easier if they know about your identity, but I definitely get that. Like, you can't just let every person know about your identity. Well, if you break up and they're a psycho.
I mean, that's also why it's just better. That, and, you know, like the typical one, like Spider-Man, Batman. You don't let them know because you don't want them to become a target if people find out about you.
True.
Like they did with MJ in the original trilogy of Spider-Man.
Yep. That did become a problem. Dating just seems like I don't know.
Dating as a hero is just a bad idea.
Yeah, I don't know if I could. If I was a hero, I think I'd have to go to a normal life, or just say fuck it to love in general,
or don't be a full-time hero at all.
Yeah, because with being a hero, you're either a hero or you're not. This isn't an off day thing. You don't get days off when the city's burning around you. This is fine.
No, but you can pick and choose. Like, you stop fighting the petty crimes and only go after like the bigger villains.
True.
So doing that, you may not necessarily be full-time anymore.
Back more onto our actual hero here, going through his love triangle. Gonna delve away from that, I suppose. He would have a low circulating miniseries, Static Shock Rebirth of Cool, which would see him essentially retire from being a hero. While enjoying being a civilian again, Frida would get him to begrudgingly admit he sometimes missed being a hero. I'm going to have to check that comic out, though.
It seemed kind of interesting because it was kind of an older version of Virgil.
Which is weird. I'm not used to seeing him old at all.
Yeah, no. There's the one episode that we can talk about a little later with his appearances that he had, but that's about it.
Yeah, I'm generally used to seeing a teenage kid being a badass out there. The list of comics that we need to read just keeps growing for me. Okay.
So he would later get convinced by some other heroes to join them in one last battle. After the battle, he would retake up his name as Static and become a hero again, though he would tell Frida that it wouldn't be a full-time like before. So I don't know how he chose to do that. If it was like we talked about doing, no petty crime, just big guys, or
I feel like
if he just picked and choose.
Me and you having that conversation is us being like, a reasonable person could let go of a certain crime. But every hero movie or comic I've read where they're like, I'm only going to focus on these. God forbid that a purse doesn't get snatched right in that same comics.
Well, of course, but that's comics. They're supposed to do that and mess with the characters like that.
I know. It's one of those. I'm like, in a perfect world, our ideas would work.
Even just in an average world, our ideas would work. You got to remember, the comics are showing a very different world than what we have.
True, and also, there has to be plot development.
Exactly. So
they can't
of course, it's going to do that to them.
Yeah, they can't just stop being a hero.
Well, yeah,
and the series would end.
Exactly. So, in a normal world, I believe that people could let go of most petty crime, like theft, purse stealing.
And I fully agree. I can fully see that. But yeah, unfortunately, I mean, you never get a happy ending. Otherwise, the show's over.
Exactly.
Or you get a real sad ending in that.
And the show's still over.
Yeah. Okay, Static Shock, along with several other characters, would end up in the DC universe after Death of Darkseid. That kind of ties into, the question today, because him and several other... I know for a fact him and Icon were two of the big ones that got brought over from that comic book.
Yeah, there was a lot of small ones that came over with them.
Yeah, but as far as like the big ones, the more notable ones, I'd say those two are two of the big ones.
Kind of the only big ones that came from that universe.
True. That comic group didn't do as well as I think they probably should have. What's sad is I guarantee they had awesome comics, too.
Oh, well, most likely.
Most likely. You hope. Yeah, no, him coming over into this world... Just back to that crisis event to bring characters over.
Yep.
That's how we got the question. Adam, Static.
That's how you get most of them.
I mean, it's an easy way to explain it. Like, why is this character just staying in this universe? Oh, his universe is dead.
Yep. Honestly, in which, after this transference of characters, only Dharma, Icon, and Superman were aware that Dakota and its inhabitants even existed in a parallel universe.
Aww.
So as far as everybody else knew, they were still in the same place they were before. or that other people are just like, hey, they've always been here. Nobody really had that ability to make the connection that they didn't exist in this area before.
Oh, shit. That's some existential shit right there.
Well, not if you don't know about it.
If we get more existential stuff of it, don't play your word games with me, Joker.
I like your words, Magic Man.
Oh man, that fucks that concept.
Could you imagine
with me.
being one of those 3 people though that knew about it and you kind of had to watch your words around them?
Yeah, like you guys can tell me if I wasn't originally here. You know that, right? Like,
I mean,
I'm not just
you weren't, but then your mom and your dad said otherwise.
Bastards.
Yep, now I'm 30 and have to pay my own bills.
Thanks for the anxiety. Upon entering the DC universe, he would become part of teams like Heroes, Justice League, Star Labs, Teen Titans, Young Justice, Shadow Cabinet, The Outsiders, and that's it. That's actually quite a few teams, though. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Kid's been busy since he switched over.
And from what I remember from doing my little bit of research, the Star Labs one had something to do with another crisis where his universe, where they kind of took place more in New York than the actual like Dakota, as they're trying to make it more DC, more realistic. And that's when he kind of became part of the Star Labs crew.
Oh, okay.
From what I remember, I'm not even positive on that one either, but.
And there's a lot of teams here. I will be honest with you. The only team on this list I do not know whatsoever is Heroes. I don't know what that team is. I don't know what that's about. Every other team on here, though, I know. Except I'm a little curious now because now I guess I'm having an aneurysm. I thought the Outsiders were a Marvel team, and now I'm going to have to go do some research.
Probably like one of those things that have similar names in both comic universes.
Oh, shit. No. I'm thinking of the Runaways. The Runaways are a Marvel mutant team. Outsiders are DC, and also a decent book and a pretty good movie.
Okay.
With the Karate Kid in it. Anywho.
So, there was an interview from the former Teen Titans writer, Jeff Johns, where he expressed interest in actually having Static as a part of the team, stating that he really wanted Static on the team, but there's so much red tape that every time he requested it from DC, they said not yet. And so he never got to have him. But later he said he had plans for the character since Teen Titans #1, Volume 3. And eventually, all the obstructions from DC were eventually resolved, and Static later appeared in Terror Titans when his Milestone continuity folded with mainstream New Earth continuity.
Oh, shit. Fuck yeah.
That's kind of how he became part of the Teen Titans.
I could see that.
He was kind of always wanted to be a part of it from the writers. They're just like, you're not allowed to.
That is, and that interview right there is actually a prime example of a lot of debates and arguments I get in with people asking, like, why isn't this character in this movie? Or why isn't this character part of this? Aren't they? I'm like, dude, there is so much red tape sometimes based on...
And the movies are so much worse.
Yeah, movies get way worse. Because I had to explain to a lot of people who didn't understand that, like, all the Mutants, X-Men stuff was owned by Fox. Therefore, they could not appear, because somebody got mad because, they were like, Scarlet Witch and Pedro, they're mutants. Why aren't they calling them mutants? Because literally that word the word itself is owned by Fox.
In that regard.
And that certain words can be owned in certain regards to where you have to pay the original people. Actually, You're Fired is a legitimate one that's owned by, I think we all know. Let's forget about the Batman. Okay, but just an interesting concept about how comics work. Now, powers. And I thought it'd be simple, just magnetism and electricity.
I mean, most of this we could still cut out because it is all extremely electricity based.
True.
So about half of it we could still it's all electric empowerment of some form.
He basically has the ability to control electricity and also magnetic fields to an extent.
Yep.
Can also, wasn't there a thing on here? He can also interface with technology,
Yep.
which that is a freaking awesome power. But no, there's just that being able to interface though with technology. First off, as far as electric powered superheroes, that is a unique ability.
Yeah, because surprisingly, not many of them can do that.
Which makes sense because a lot of them are just literally electric powered, electric manipulation, but being able to turn ones and zeros into information into your brain, we're leaning on some almost cyborgish power at that point.
Oh, yeah. And he's also got like regenerative healing, which is actually really cool. I found out that was mostly found out because he decided to ask himself in the comic of, hey, did my wounds from the battle this morning heal yet? And that's how it was found out in the comics that he had regenerative abilities.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it was just some random thing that he happened to pass on in conversation that from the sounds of it, they never really went in depth on. They're just like, hey, here's this as a little nugget of something he can do.
All right, that's actually pretty cool. I also, once again, every powered being, fucking regeneration.
Yeah, it seems to be at this point. Which, I mean, makes sense because your body's trying to do stuff that it normally couldn't. It's got to repair itself somehow.
Actually accurate, I could see that. Also,
I mean,
with the electric power, maybe nerve endings can be sent information faster to increase the healing. I'm
That
just
would make
spitballing. I'm no expert on biology here. Energy absorption and redirection.
Which is pretty cool.
Yep, and kind of makes sense having electric-based power in that to be able to, like we've said in the past, hopefully be able to absorb the thing that you're able to put out.
Right.
Not always the case, but flight via electrostatic disc plate, which is that's kind of nifty.
Which, in the cartoon, it was one of his friends that gave him that.
Yep.
And it wasn't even something he did on his own. And his friend's like, here, throw this little, like, pizza-shaped disc.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, now what? He's like, okay, now you shock it. And it turns into the circle, and that's what he gets to fly around on from then on.
It was pretty fucking awesome, because originally I think he was mostly just using trash can
Oh,
lids.
that's exactly what he was using.
Yep.
Back in the time when there were metal trash cans everywhere.
I think at some point too, he actually in the cartoon series he meets another electric hero who teaches him how to surf on power poles, like
Yep.
power lines.
Pretty sure I remember that.
Which is that's also kind of electric powers. Man, can I change my answer from trickster god to electric powers? Because that's pretty fucking cool.
He had some psionic immunity to where he was able to get around certain people's mind control, and
Which kind of makes sense, because from the little knowledge I have of the human body, we are basically just giant potatoes with batteries. Like, all the information in our brain, all that power is electrically powered neuron zapping. So if you're literally able to just probably mess some of a psychic's brain up pretty easily.
oh yeah, that's essentially what the brain is, just an electric powered potato. The rest of the body is just a cucumber
Oh, yeah.
because of how much water we are.
Yep. Which is weirdly insane how much water we actually are. Keen scientific mind, like we said, he's a nerd and an actual smart nerd, not your us nerd.
Us nerds can be smart too. We just aren't.
Okay, fair. He's also a expert strategist, which makes sense with just all the stuff he has to do. He's
Which
pretty
is
good.
definitely something that he eventually gets into.
Yeah, that's more of an ability that you learn over time.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not something you're born with. Technopathy, we already covered that. Regenerative, covered that. Electricity, lightning, empowerment. I'm assuming that's because I've seen him do it in the cartoon and in some comics. He can basically, it's like his power absorption in that. But he could also theoretically absorb like a lightning storm. Which, whoa, damn. Watch out. Magnetic powers, and that kind of goes with him being able to ride on that disc. And he can control metal. He's basically a pseudo Magneto, because I'd say Magneto's ability is far more fine-tuned.
Oh, yeah.
But still impressive, though, to have all these electrical powers and be able to manipulate metal.
And his only major weakness is, the stuff that's non-conductive.
Yeah.
Which I was reading on, and I guess stuff that's made of wood is his hardest thing to deal with.
I could see that, because, I think I was watching something. The amount of electricity required to travel through wood would fry the wood.
Oh, yeah.
Like, before it really got to the other side, the wood would be crisp. So I could see wood being a difficult thing for him to deal with. And, yeah, just kind of any metal that isn't conductive.
Which I feel is, pretty impressive for the amount of abilities he actually has compared to how tiny his weakness list is.
It is
because his only real weakness is non-conductivity.
Yeah, and even that, with enough electricity, you could fry through it.
Eventually.
Like, you don't even necessarily have to...
But if you're putting in that energy, you may never be able to.
True. It depends on how much energy output he can give himself. But I've seen in the cartoon and in the comics, he can put out some power.
A lot goes into how much is how much can he do? How much time does he have to do it?
How thick is the enclosed?
How much energy has he already put out?
True. There are a lot of factors. Doable, but yeah, it is.
It is definitely doable.
As far as a weakness, though, it's not the worst weakness out there.
And that's pretty impressive. That's really his only weakness.
Yeah. Besides, maybe just
normal things that would hurt a human, but still,
but even then, he can heal from most. He has decent healing in that, as long as you can keep the blood in.
Not if he doesn't die. It'll only kill me if I die.
Yeah, exactly.
So all we got left really are the appearances.
I want to read this last power. I want to try to read this last power. Manipulation of subatomic particles. No, he can't shrink himself in that. He can manipulate subatomic particles, which kind of comes with
right into electricity.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I just seen that. I'm like, what word is that? I need to say that out loud. Okay, yeah. Now, and then damn manipulation. Okay, and now to his appearances.
Which, after going into the wiki and seeing it, it's sadly extremely limited. Because he's only been in 3 shows. One, his own. He's been in, I think it was a pair of episodes in Justice League Unlimited.
Yep, 2
episodes. That was it. And that was his 50-year-old version.
Yep.
Because it was I don't remember exactly how it all worked out, but it had something to do with a portal of some kind.
It was a guy going through time to steal things that wouldn't be missed, and then something happens and he starts fucking the timeline.
Well, that's what happens when you mess with the timeline, Barry.
Yeah, originally it wasn't supposed to fuck with the timeline, but then something happened, sent him going crazy. So Batman and Green Lantern have to deal with him, and they meet the future Justice League, which Virgil's on.
I was like, but anytime you mess with the timeline, there is no non-messing with the timeline.
Yeah, very accurate, very accurate. You are taking it. It's the flutter of a butterfly, and even taking something that you feel as though won't be missed. You're taking atoms from this world.
Yep, and you're changing outcomes of something.
Yeah.
And then he was in I didn't want to go through and try to figure out of this paragraph they had written. It had a small handful of episodes in Young Justice.
Yep, that's when the Kree come in.
But yeah, they'd go through, they'd give you the title of the episode, then they'd go through like a 3 or 4 sentence explanation of the episode. And yeah, I found at least 3 episodes in that paragraph, but I didn't want to keep trying to read the paragraph just to find an episode count.
I don't blame you. I would just say he's in the 2nd season and he's in the 3rd season.
Yep.
3rd season less, but 2nd season he has
I think in total he only had like 5 episodes.
Yeah, but still, it is what it is. But he's in the 2nd and 3rd season. Go watch it. It's a good show.
It was an amazing show.
And we're all sad that it probably is just done.
And then in film, he had a non-speaking cameo in Justice League War. He was somewhere in the background of one of the shots. That was it. Yeah. And then currently, while it still doesn't have a release date, there's a collaboration between DC, Warner Bros. Pictures, and Milestone Media currently in the works with Reginald Hoodlin and Michael B. Jordan producing their live-action version.
Shit, fuck yeah.
And then somebody got added on. I don't remember who it was, but somebody got added on as a writer just this year.
Oh.
So there's still no actual release date or any real news on it.
But they're working on it,
And hopefully it stays.
Yeah, hopefully.
Because he did have another cartoon movie that ended up getting canceled, but I don't remember what it was.
God damn it. We gotta get him out there. I like Static Shock. I'm already pissed off that we lost the Cyborg movie. I refuse to lose Static.
Then unfortunately, if anything's based like his video games, he's not going to stick around long either. Because he was set to have a game on the Game Boy Advance handheld in 2003 by Midway Games, but it was canceled. He did have an appearance in one of the downloadable contact packs of DC Universe Online called Lightning Strike, along with other Teen Titans. He is a playable character in the mobile version of Injustice Gods Among Us. And again, he was supposed to appear as a playable character in Injustice 2, but was later cut.
Oh, fuck.
So unfortunately, he's got a lot of stuff that was supposed to have been.
I guess
But something happened. Honestly, my guess, he's not a huge character. So they're probably just cutting him out over
others
that have better names or bigger names.
I could see that. It sucks, but I can see that.
Because come on, our whole list right there was smaller than most people's just TV section.
True. And honestly, I will also just say for this character, with the Injustice Gods Among Us 2, I can see why if I was one of the creators, why I wouldn't have been readily available, like ready to put him in there, is because how many other electric-based characters does that game have in general?
I don't even remember the whole list of characters in it.
Because I believe we have Black Adam, we have Aquaman, we have...
Since when is Aquaman an electric-based
He actually uses a lot of thunder attacks and lightning attacks
Yeah,
in
he's
there.
not technically an electric-based character. He can use them, yes.
Yeah, he can use them, which he uses them a lot in that game.
It's because of the game. Yeah. They can only give him so many abilities.
However,
unfortunately, Aquaman does not have a lot of fighting abilities for a game.
True. But it's one of those too, like, we got the Ninja Turtles, and I would have, even as a Ninja Turtle fan, been willing to give up Ninja Turtles to see a kid skateboarding around on a trash can lid and kicking Superman's ass.
Fan-wise, yes, totally. But
name-wise,
that
it's one of those,
I think is why a lot of his stuff has ended up being canceled.
And it's one of those, like, I'm not disagreeing. I get the industry, I understand how it works, and that, like we were talking earlier, in that with some of that stuff. And this is a character who I think just deserves more time than he's been given. And hopefully that movie comes out. Maybe we might even get a show in the future. I know I got some comics I got to start reading.
I know speaking of, there was a show also that was set but got canceled. Like I said, he's had about half of his list is either half actually made or half was cut.
Wow.
Like, his list is almost double what we have, but most of it was cut content or canceled shows.
Jesus.
And I just didn't feel like putting that many cancellations on the list.
No, fair.
Having the 2 for the games was bad enough.
That was already...
I mean, in like his film, he doesn't really have anything. He really doesn't have any TV except for his own show.
But I will say, from what I've seen, he does have some good comics.
And unfortunately, that seems to be his main staple.
Which, there's a lot of good characters out there that, that's
all they really have.
Is the comics, but I mean, as long as the comics still keep getting made, clearly somebody's reading them.
I know he made it all the way into the New 52, so it's somewhat recent still.
Damn. I mean, I'm sorry, Static, that you had to go through that, but yeah, you know.
Yeah, everybody's sorry that anybody had to go through that one.
Yeah. The best that can be said about the New 52s is they made Wonder Woman less skin showy. That's the best they can say.
Yeah, it was a rough go.
So, yeah, just let that sink in. But as far as the character, though, I learned a lot. We covered some odd subjects here, some, I guess, tough subjects. And the show and the comic never were afraid to shy away from tough subjects, which as an artist I respect. So what do you think, Joker? You a fan?
Oh yeah, definitely was. Enjoyed the cartoon as a kid. He's a fun character. He's interesting to see. And as an adult, it is definitely nice to see a character and show and comic that did deal with those subjects at the time.
True. At the time, it was very taboo, and you know what? I'm a fan too. For anyone that's still listening, if you got something out of this, enjoyed the episode, or even liked the character before from a movie, comic, cartoon, hell, even that t-shirt that you saw one time, you're a fan too. If you want to jump on this train, why not subscribe and share with a friend? Dick Rail out. Y'all keep riding them rails.